Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the Online Series 11 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. We are in the final couple of days of Series 11, and to close things out, I wanted to feature a team that won a regional championship in Taipei a couple of weekends ago. This was built and piloted by a player called Jalun, and they actually wrote a team report for this as well, and it was posted on Victory Road yesterday. So I've linked their Twitter down in the description below, as well as a team report and rental and paste, all for the team, courtesy of the original creator. So congratulations to Jalun for winning the tournament. And yeah, I think that this team has a lot of concepts that will actually be very relevant in Series 12 as well. So it's nice to kind of feature it right before we jump into the brand new format. So yeah. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the teams. If you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps linked down in the description below. The general idea behind this team is that you play around your two really strong offensive options in Assault Vest Kyogre as well as Lum Berry Glastrier. Glastrier, was a really dominant Pokemon when it was first introduced to Sword and Shield, and obviously Calyrex Ice Rider exists, but Calyrex Ice Rider is a restricted Pokemon. Now, I think initially when Kyogre came out, a lot of people just saw it as like a very fast-paced offensive Pokemon, right? Like you would very commonly see it with Tailwind, like Tornadus, for example, often paired with like a Choice Scarf, for example, or a way to boost its water-type attacks. But I feel like one really interesting meta trend, especially in the last couple of weeks of Series 11, is players using Assault Vest on it instead and turning it into a really bulky Pokemon and running very little speed investment on it at all. So this is an Assault Vest Kyogre, and it's designed to just, maximize your damage output. Now, with this team, you have three good max options: Zapdos, Glastrier, and Kyogre. Zapdos, I'd say you really want to bring out in weather matchups, so when you're going up against opposing Kyogres or Sun, for example. Safety goggles, Zapdos is just incredibly effective against Sun because you don't have to worry about Sleep Powder from Venusaur. You can Dynamax it, you can Max Airstream Venusaur, you can take advantage of their Sun, for example, and even just get stronger Max Flares off, and so that's really powerful. Rillaboom and Incineroar are pretty self-explanatory with this team. Rillaboom's going to be incredibly important in matchups against opposing Kyogres. Incin, always good, but especially good against Zacian. And then the main stars of the team in Lum Berry Glastrier, as well as Assault Vest Kyogre. These are sets that we've featured previously before, so they're not anything too surprising. But it's actually been a while since I feel like I've used Glastrier or really gone up against it, and so I'm interested in just re-exploring how good this Pokemon can potentially be in the format at the moment. And then finally, you've got Dusclops. The key thing to note about this Dusclops is that it has Helping Hand as well as Haze, so it doesn't have Ally Switch, it doesn't have Will-O-Wisp, it doesn't have Pain Split, for example. But I really like Haze because, first of all, there are just so many Pokemon that like to, get set up on you. You can also even get rid of a Zacian attack boost, for example, with Haze. And I think Haze is just generally useful against a lot of more unexpected and unorthodox strategies, because those strategies often revolve around like a surprise weakness policy or surprise like stat boost, for example. And it's just generally useful to get rid of like your opponent's max boost as well. So note that the Dusclops won't sustain as long as you might be used to if you've played with Pain Split Dusclops before, but it's still really quite valuable. And then Glastrier is really strong as a non-Dynamax option as well. The key thing to note about Glastrier is it obviously really doesn't like going up against Intimidate, and you can hit Incineroar for super effective damage, which is obviously quite good, but getting Intimidated never feels good. So if you can get rid of the opposing Incineroar early on in the game, it completely paves the way for a late game Glastrier Dynamax, so that's something you might want to look towards. Like I mentioned, though, the original creator of this team wrote a really great in-depth team report on all the situations and when to bring all of these Pokemon, so I highly encourage you to check that out down in the description below, and let's get started. Thanks so much, as always, for watching Road to Ranked. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like. I would really appreciate it. And question of the day, with us finishing Series 11, I'm curious to know which team has been one of your favorites to either play or watch with. I think for me, some of the more recent teams we've used have been really fun. I really enjoyed the Pheromosa Celesteela team. I think that was just so innovative and featured some really interesting strategies that I haven't used. The Centiskorch team I really enjoyed as well. From recently, it just really opened my eyes to how good and underrated I think Centiskorch potentially is as a Pokemon. So I hope we see people explore that a little bit more in Series 12. But I've been talking for long enough, so let's get started. Alright, first game of the day, and this is a really cool team. It feels like a earlier series team with Gothitelle, Porygon, Primarina, Rotom-H, and Rillaboom. Zacian being the restricted on my opponent's team. Triple ally switch potential with Gothitelle, Porygon, and Rotom-H, so that is something to worry about. Who do I want to max here? Zapdos is actually not a bad max option thanks to Max Flare and Helping Hand pressure from Dusclops. I have to be so careful about Gothitelle, because if I get trapped into a bad matchup, I can just faint immediately. I feel like I probably don't bring Glastrier in this one because it's so weak into, like, Rotom. It's not terrible against Primarina, actually. It's mainly Rotom that's the problem, right? If I were my opponent, I would probably try to play towards Rotom. Rotom Gothitelle could work. But the thing is I'm Assault Vested, so it's actually not that bad going up against it. I generally don't mind an instant Kyogre lead, I think, because we're bulky Kyogre, meaning even if in the worst case, which is, what, Goth plus Rillaboom, I have an Intimidate, and I can Dynamax Kyogre, potentially. Just nervous about beating Rotom-H. I think I want Dusclops here because of Haze plus Trick Room, and I think I'm going to go Glastrier for the final one. Rillaboom's main purpose here would be to beat the Primarina, but I don't feel confident enough with it, and I think because my opponent is Gothitelle, it's a lot harder to actually like reliably switch in and out as well. Zapdos is okay. If my opponent didn't have the Rotom-H, I actually would probably just use that as my primary offensive option, but the Rotom-H alone makes it a lot more difficult for Zapdos because I don't feel comfortable Dynamaxing it, right? So they're going to go with Primarina and Gothitelle. Okay. A little bit awkward for the Incineroar here, I suppose, because they've trapped me in, and then they could potentially just KO Incin here on turn 1. But I could just Dynamax Kyogre and max the Lightning into the Primarina. The other interesting thing here is, like, do you Dynamax Primarina? I don't think it's a terrible option, but I actually don't think that would even be that bad for us to go up against. I'm down for Fake Out into Gothitelle. Would I Dynamax Primarina? I could see Primarina even switching out into Rillaboom here. Okay, I'm not opposed to a... Actually, maybe I should just target down Gothitelle on turn 1. It's just tempting because I want to Dynamax Kyogre and just max Lightning the Primarina. Okay, I'm down for that. I'll Fake Out max Lightning Primarina because in this case, even if you switch into Rillaboom, I change the terrain. They're not gonna switch. So Primarina maxing here is strong, but I actually think it works in our favor because, like, even if they're Assault Vest, Max Lightning still does a sizable amount of damage. But this is probably one of the best leads that they could have had into Incineroar. They are going to Dynamax Primarina. Okay. Interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if they just double up onto Incin, because if you eliminate Incin, then you get rid of one of the bigger threats to your Zacian. So one of the big questions I have is the item on Primarina and the amount of HP and special defense investment they have. Because Max Lightning is still going to be super effective, and it'll set up Electric Terrain for the subsequent turn to do even more damage. Okay, so we both end up actually clicking Fake Out onto the Dynamax Pokemon, which is kind of funny. That's actually a very significant amount of damage, though, honestly, for a Fake Out. Oh my gosh. We almost just one-shot it there. Okay. Imagine if we just got the KO there. The game would just instantly be over. But I think that's a fantastic trade for me on turn 1. Like, yeah, I lose the Incineroar, but I think that's totally fine. Now, the main question I have is whether or not they do have the Rillaboom in the back. Because I would think Rillaboom Zacian as their final 2 makes sense to me. So I can bring in Dusclops now. That's definitely not Assault Vest Primarina. It's not Life Orb. So what's the item on it? It's not Buried either. Those are the main items I'd expect. It's Focus Sash. And Gothitelle Citrus. Okay. I honestly want to double up onto Gothitelle right now. But at the same time, I'm trying to think ahead. Did they really not bring Rotom? That would be really interesting. I've got Glastrier in the back. Primarina protecting here is definitely a possibility. So, like, I'm thinking I can just Helping Hand and Geyser into Gothitelle here. Because we know the Focus Sash is on the Primarina. So there's Helping Hand. Okay, I mean, I guess that works too. That was not the intended outcome, but I'll take it. I wasn't even trying to read into an ally switch. Kind of overkill there. That is a little bit frustrating, though, to be honest, because I was going to get so much damage off, right? If I would just one-shot the Gothitelle there. So now it's Rillaboom, Zacian, or Rotom-H. Those are the 3 that make the most sense, right, for them to have in the back. I don't think Zacian's really very good to bring out right now, truthfully. I would bring out Rillaboom if you had it, but the interesting thing if you have Rillaboom is I can actually go for like... Yeah, there's Rillaboom. Okay. So I've got Glastrier in the back, right? So I want to play towards a Glastrier Dusclops endgame ideally. I guess part of the problem is I don't know if Nightshade into high horsepower is enough to KO. It's my last turn of Dynamax here. I think I want to get a Trick Room up with Dusclops. We should assume Assault Vest on Rillaboom. The reason I want Trick Room in so I can bring out Glastrier and then like get an Ice Go Crash off. Alternatively, this turn I can go for... I think I need Trick Room up, because if I don't get Trick Room up, I lose against Zacian, right? So I actually have to go for it this turn, it feels like. Okay. So I'll Trick Room this turn. And... Geyser into Gothitelle. If they ally switch, then it gets redirected into Rillaboom. That's really not too bad. Okay, they go for a Helping Hand. I don't know if Helping Hand Glide KOs Dynamax Kyogre with so much bulk. Oh, they're not going for Glide. Okay, so it's probably a Wood Hammer then. That one-shots. Whoa. Okay. And they Wood Hammer, meaning now you're going to take so much damage from a recoil. This Rillaboom's about to take like 60% of its health. And I get Trick Room up, which is what I was looking for. This is a really fast-paced game. Super interesting. Yeah, right around 60%. Okay, now your final Pokemon's going to be Zacian, which obviously Calyrex does not love going up against. And I can't heal with Dusclops because I don't have Pain Split. That is part of the issue for me right now. So I've got Nightshade. I can haste to get rid of their attack boost, but I don't know if that allows my Glastrier to survive. I think here I don't mind... I really want to... I could see them reading into a Glastrier Protect here and doubling up onto Dusclops. But I think actually even if they do that, it's fine if I get a Nightshade off. Because unless they KO me, but I don't think that would KO Dusclops. Because then I can just Helping Hand High Horsepower KO Zacian the next turn. I needed to get Trick Room up in this game, in this end game, because if I don't get Trick Room up, then I just lose against Zacian and the Glastrier is completely useless. Okay, sweet, they glide into that, and they don't protect Zacian, so this is already a really desirable outcome. Could be Substitute, which would be interesting. Nice, they doubled up in a Glastrier. Okay, beautiful. Okay. I think I just want a Helping Hand High Horsepower right now. Yeah, I think that's the best line of action here. If we had Pain Split on Dusclops, I feel like this would basically... No, it wouldn't feel like a lock, actually, I suppose, but I'd feel a little bit more confident, because I can Nightshade and heal up a little bit. Nah, but with Grassy Terrain and us, like them already have been taking a lot of damage, I don't think it actually saved me here anyway. My main question is whether or not Helping Hand High Horsepower gets the KO onto Zacian. So let's see. I would think so, but that Nightshade made it look like Zacian actually has a decent amount of HP investment, but Helping Hand is just so powerful. Okay. Let's get the boost here. They might protect, but that's fine. They don't protect, okay. If this gets the knockout, we win. Let's see. Beautiful. Nice job, Glastrier. Yeah, it might feel weird to bring Glastrier into a Zacian matchup, but it just makes so much sense here. This was so interesting, though, because they led the Primarina. The Primarina was actually Focus Sash, and they took so much damage from Max Lightning, and it's Wood Hammer into Dusclops, okay. So I'm sure they try to split their damage there. Or maybe read into a Protect there. Well, I just protected last turn, right? So, yeah. It's always scary there, because I wasn't sure if that would KO, and then you could always see also miss High Horsepower. You know, it's one of the highest accuracy moves that you have that's not 100% accurate, but the idea of missing there is still really scary. So, you know, that's what I really like about this team, right? Like, Glastrier almost feels like a pseudo-restricted Pokemon in many ways, but it's obviously not as good as Calyrex Ice Rider, and it relies a little bit more on... Well, I mean, I guess Calyrex relies on Trick Room as well, right? But the thing is, I don't need Trick Room throughout the entire game to win with this team, right? Like, we didn't use Trick Room in the early game, and the thing in not using Trick Room early on is that you can wait for the late game where it's basically nearly impossible for your opponent to stall out the Trick Room. What made that end game a little bit easier for us is that my opponent never protected with Zacian, but I think they may have just not expected the amount of damage I was able to get onto it. But for example, if they just protect Zacian the turn that I protect my Calyrex, then the next turn is kind of awkward, right? Because then you can just potentially target my Calyrex there and just, yeah, maybe you survive the Nightshade into high horsepower, Helping Hand, high horsepower. Yeah, like, had they had protected the first time, I think I'd probably just go Helping Hand, high horsepower and hope it's enough to KO them, but I'm not sure depending on their EV spread, and it did look like they had some HP investment there. So, yeah. Either way, though, you can see the power of this team. Not surprised that, of course, it was able to win a regional championship. Been a long time since I've seen Primarina, so yeah, that was not how I expected the early game to go, but I thought it worked out decently well for us. The ally switch, obviously, stopped my momentum a little bit, because if we just got the knockout onto Gothitelle there, and like Primarina was such low HP, I could just finish off with anything at that point, including a Nightshade from Dusclops. And so that made things a little bit more difficult, because I essentially felt like I wasted a turn of Dynamax, but it still worked out. So yeah, let's just keep things going. Alright, next game here, and this is such a cool team. Zygarde, Galarian Zapdos, Comfey, Clefairy, Metagross, and Volcarona. So it's probably weakness policy on the Zygarde. Now, we actually used Zygarde a few weeks ago, and it actually had AV Metagross and Focus Sash Volcarona on the team. So I wonder if this is like another version of that, or just a completely different team. Now, granted, that was like a leftovers coil set with Zygarde, and this is probably policy, given the Comfey. I could see them baiting policy on Zygarde and them actually having it on Galarian Zapdos, though. I think that would be kind of a fun way to psych your opponent out. I don't think I'd bring Zapdos here. I mean, Calyrex is really good against the Zygarde component of this team. Kyogre and Dusclops is a really interesting lead to me, because I can just like Helping Hand Hailstorm Zygarde or Trick Room with this. I really like Glastrier in this one. I think this is not a Rillaboom matchup at all, so it's probably just the bottom four again. Rillaboom makes very little sense in this matchup given the amount of resistances, right? Zapdos, Metagross, Volcarona. Rillaboom's primarily for like opposing Kyogre teams or teams with strong water types. And Zapdos just doesn't really do much against Zygarde, which is one of my opponent's main, offensive options. So the reason, I think if they didn't have the Zapdos, I'd consider leading Instant Dusclops and just pressuring a Trick Room setup, but I don't even know if we absolutely need Trick Room here. And the idea of Helping Hand plus Water Spout is really tempting to me, I think. So they're going to go with Zygarde and Zapdos. Okay. Either of these Pokemon could Dynamax. I've got Ice Beam pressure. Policy and Sash. Okay, cool. I'm not opposed to an Origin Pulse into a Trick Room. I guess I just don't want Kyogre to take too much unnecessary damage. But I guess Glastrier is actually an incredible max option for me in this matchup as well. Okay, I'm down for it. Curious who maxes here. Zygarde would make more sense to me, but I guess you could max Zapdos, Airstream into 1,000 Arrows. Yeah, it's going to be a Zygarde max. Part of me wanted a Dynamax Kyogre, just go Helping Hand max Hailstorm, but I really don't think that's worth it, because if Zygarde switches out into Volcarona or Metagross and I just commit a Dynamax and waste that on turn 1, it doesn't really feel super good, right? Okay, Zapdos detects, that's fine. And they're just going to Max Quake. Okay. The reason I'm, okay with this is because, one, yeah, we're bulky Kyogre, so you don't even deal that much damage, and two, I've got this Glastrier in the back. Oh, man. My only question is whether or not a Helping Hand max Hailstorm can KO the Zygarde this next turn. I feel like it can. I guess I could also Haze to just get rid of its special defense boost and Hailstorm. That's not bad either. Can it survive? I don't want to underestimate Zygarde's bulk here, especially because we know it has weakness policy. Like, I'd rather just play around the policy and ignore it for now, if anything. Like, I can just Thunder the Zapdos and Nightshade it here, honestly. I'm down for that. I just really don't want... I don't know how bulky the Zygarde is, and I don't know, like, weakness policy, Zygarde damage calcs off the top of my head, but what I do know is that on that first turn, they didn't even do 50% to Kyogre with the Max Quake. Now, I'm not sure I get the KO with Zapdos here thanks to the special defense boost, but okay, we do. Nice. So, that's out of the way. They're going to just Quake again. And this is the beauty of having Haze, right? I can just get rid of all your boosts immediately. Especially... This is what's so sick. If they bring in Comfey and they go Draining Kiss to activate that weakness policy, and then I just haze it away. I'm really hoping that's what happens here. That's Clefairy though. Okay, that's fine. The thing is, right now your Glastrier matchup is looking pretty rough. You probably have Metagross or Volcarona in the back, but that's fine. I here will just go for an Origin Pulse, mainly looking for damage on Clefairy. I got Helping Hand here. What's actually my best option? I'm not sure. I think Sing from Clefairy is one of the only things I'm worried about right now from this position. I could also switch into Incineroar. Ooh, that's not a terrible idea. But they may Max Quake me. I don't want Incin to take a Max Quake. Okay, I'm down for Helping Hand and Origin Pulse just to maximize damage onto Clefairy. Okay. There's Helping Hand. Okay, they have their Helping Hand of their own, but that's fine. I really don't mind that. I'm just looking for damage onto Clefairy right now. That might just be a Nightshade KO range, actually, which would be really good. And, like, they just spent 3 turns of Dynamax on Zygarde to not even KO a single Pokemon, right? I would have preferred them to target Kyogre there just to give me a free switch in. So it was smart that they didn't. But now your Dynamax is over. I still have Trick Room up, and I have Haze, so I can just get rid of your Clefairy boosts right now. Or not Clefairy boosts, Zygarde boosts. Thanks to Friend Guard, I have to be a little bit careful here. I think here I'm down to actually switch into Incineroar, and then go for a Nightshade onto Clefairy, because I don't want to reveal the Haze yet. And then this allows me to fake out into Haze next turn, and conserve Kyogre, which is potentially very important to beat either Metagross or Volcarona in the back. Right now, it's like, I do risk getting crit, right? Because my opponent could go for, let's see what they go for. Okay, Clefairy protects, but that's fine. Right, like, if I went Haze Ice Beam here, because of Friend Guard, I'm not sure I KO Zygarde. I don't want them to transform. Okay, nice Coil. That's a good play. I think their idea here is, okay, maybe let me just get the Zygarde boosted up, but I don't think they can actually effectively pull that off right now. Nightshade will KO Clefairy, so maybe they switch Clefairy out, but I would chip anything coming in. And since Dusclops will move first, I don't even necessarily... Oh, I mean, do I want to get rid of these boosts? Yeah, I feel like I should. I just don't know if a Flare Blitz KOs Clefairy here. Okay, I'm down for Parting Shot into Zygarde. And then Haze here. The boosts aren't even that good for Zygarde right now, truthfully. Okay, they switch out. Nice. And what is that? Comfey? That's probably the best final Pokemon for us to run into, honestly. And this is cool. I Haze to get rid of their boost, and then I Parting Shot afterwards to bring them further below. Meaning now it's like even if you activate the weakness policy, it's not really that scary, right? You'd have to switch the Zygarde out and then get policy activated. So I think I'm going to bring out Kyogre first because you do so little damage right now. I can even Dynamax Kyogre potentially and just go for a Hailstorm, but Glastrier is also a Mightyfy max option. See if they go for another Coil or just, yeah, they do. Okay. You're just back to neutral, essentially. Now, we know the Zygarde's faster than us, given the early game, so now my opponent can angle for a weakness policy activation. You're at neutral. Is it correct to Dynamax Kyogre here? I almost want to just to try to get the knockout this turn, but I also have to respect Ally Switch from Comfey, I think. Honestly, though, I think Helping Hand Max Hailstorm here is fine. The reason I feel tempted to do this right now is because I can literally just win the game this turn with this play, but I also don't really lose that much, I think. Because even if you get Weakness Policy activated, I'll just bring an Incineroar, then you're only at +1 attack, and +1 regular Zygarde just isn't really that scary in my opinion. So it was weird for me to like conserve my Dynamax for this position, but my concern was I didn't think I'd really be able to like do anything super strong if I didn't go for this play this turn. I actually thought I'd lose a lot of resources potentially. Okay, they just go for Ally Switch. That's fine. Like Zygarde's really not gonna deal too much damage right now, but okay, I like the idea of going for consecutive coils. I think that's really smart. Now it's looking a little scary, I suppose, actually. But okay, decent damage from Hailstorm. That was a very nice play. Ally Switch on Comfey is a pretty common attack as well. It's hard to fully read into, but once again, though, Kyogre is like you could heal up the Zygarde now, I guess, is part of the interesting component. You could also protect baiting the Hailstorm, right? Plus 3,000 arrows. Not even that scary, especially with Instant having Fake Out pressure. Alright, I might actually go for Geyser here. Helping Hand Geyser, or would I rather Trick Room? I'd rather Trick Room here, because if I get Trick Room up, we'll outspeed them with all of our Pokemon. Cool, they just Ally Switch again. Although, Geyser actually probably won't KO them, which is kind of annoying. Oh, they don't even KO either Pokemon. Yeah, this is the downside of Zygarde, unfortunately. It just doesn't really deal that much damage. The upside for them is they'll actually be able to heal up the Zygarde. We barely miss out on the KO. Oof. I went for Geyser there, but I think Hailstorm... Well, Hailstorm wouldn't have KO'd Comfey there, whereas Geyser would have. But it's like, even though they got the better end of me from Ally Switch twice, they're still in a pretty bad spot, in my opinion. They will get a lot more HP now, though, with Zygarde. I guess a lot is kind of a stretch. I wouldn't actually say that's a ton. They can heal the Zygarde now, which is the main problem. I don't think Comfey has Protect, though. Oh, also I can just haze away literally all of their boosts. Yeah, so I'm just going to Geyser here into Comfey and Haze. You can KO Dusclops maybe, but then I would KO Comfey. They're just going to Ally Switch again. Okay, cool. Game's over then, I think, here. Nice. Okay, boosts are gone. Wait, I thought they were faster in the beginning of the game. Am I misremembering that? Honestly, it's still fine, but I did not see Rest coming from Zygarde. Rest Coil 1,000 arrows? Huh. Okay. Wow. I'm just gonna Helping Hand Origin Pulse here. Like, it's still fine. But that is fascinating to me. Wait, turn 1 of the game, what? They let Zapdos and Zygarde. And they went Max Quake. Protect. Yeah, Floral Healing finally comes out. It's annoying because there's so many times where I could have just knocked out this Zygarde outright. But I'll just take the safer route right now. Do we outspeed them? I really thought for some reason... There's no way. It's Rest Sleep Talk? Oh my... And I miss Origin Pulse. Okay, that's fine. What? This is like one of those times where you just run into like such a crazy set. Wow. But I think we're still fine here. Because I still have Glastrier in the back as well, so it's like really not an issue, but How wild is this? Very interesting. Also, Shiny Zygarde looks so cool. But the thing is, even if they got that 1,000 arrows off, like, you just do so little damage from this position, honestly. I'm down to just Helping Hand Ice Beam here. I think Instinct Glastrier easily win this endgame for us. Unless Clefairy has Sing. That's their one way of potentially winning right now. But they just Helping Hand. Yeah, I don't even think a Helping Hand 1,000 arrows KOs Kyogre here. And they stay asleep. Okay. Oh, well, yeah, they're going for Sleep Talk. So it's actually better if they wake up there, right? And they get the 1,000 arrows. Okay, okay. But yeah, it's not enough to KO us. That was dangerously close. I didn't think it would ever get a knockout there without a crit, but maybe it's actually a damage roll. We don't KO Zygarde. And I activate Weakness Policy. Oh, I thought Helping Hand Ice Beam would be enough, but the Zygarde does actually have a ton of bulk. That's fine, though. I can bring it Incineroar now. I must say, I just misremembered. This game has gone on for so long that I thought their Zygarde outsped us on turn 1 of the game. So then, like, setting up Trick Room was slightly questionable. This is an unacceptable game to lose, though. Like, this endgame was actually really sloppy by me, in my opinion. So I'm not super happy about it. I mean, you could just double protect here, but if you double protect, I'll just KO you. Yeah, I'll just fake out Zygarde. Oh, you know actually what I have to respect right now? Heal Pulse from the Clefairy. Like, if I just KO'd Clefairy last turn, the game would just instantly be over. But I thought there was a chance they could protect there. Oh, they don't protect Zygarde. Oh, because they don't have Protect. Right. Fake Out Ice Beam was like 100% win on Zygarde. Like, there's no reason for me to risk a miss there at all. But we end up hitting. Because I... It's funny, it's just in my head, I was like, Zygarde surely has Protect, but we've seen its full movesets, Rest, Sleep Talk, Hoil, and 1,000 Arrows, which is so, so interesting. So, yeah, like, you know, you can make sloppy plays like this when you have a significant team advantage, but there's no reason it need to be as close as it was, honestly. And ultimately, like, we never even brought out Glastrier, so I guess it wasn't even, like, that close. Like, I felt pretty confident thanks to us having Haze, and Kyogre with Ice Beam, with Bulk, and Incineroar with Intimidate with Parting Shot, and Glastrier in the back. So that was like as bad of a Zygarde matchup as my opponent could have had, to be honest. Or this team was as bad of a matchup for Zygarde as possible, honestly. Especially with us having Glastrier, right? It's like, not only does our restricted Pokemon already match up pretty well against them, but we also have Calyrex or Glastrier. But that was such an interesting Zygarde set. Like, the Zygarde hung around for like 8 extra turns than I'd expected it to. Like, it was the Ally Switch, into the Ally Switch, into the Floral Healing, into the Rest, into the Sleep Talk, into the Sleep Talk. So, yeah, that was a game I expected to end like 8 minutes ago. But really, really cool set there. So, let's look for one final game. Alright, last one of the day, and the interesting Pokemon continue. This time around, there's an Alcremie, as well as a Kyogre. So, the combination of that makes me think this should be a Zapdos Rillaboom duo, which makes me happy because I didn't really get to bring either of those previously. I should really plug in my my remote controller as well. So let me do that real quick. The lead is interesting. I think, like, obviously Decorate from the Alcremie is really scary. But this is where Haze from Dusclops can come in handy. So I think in this game we want to go Zapdos, Rillaboom, Kyogre, and Dusclops. I'm okay leading Zapdos because, like, it can be incredibly effective even without a Dynamax in this game. I might honestly want to lead Zapdos and Kyogre with Dusclops and Rillaboom in the back. Mainly because I just apply so much offensive pressure with Zapdos Kyogre, right? I could theoretically Dynamax Zapdos, Airstream into a Water Spout. There's a lot of possibilities here. Yeah, I mean, Incin I don't think I ever bring here, right? Intimidate only helps really against Rillaboom and Incineroar. And Incin, like, the opposing Incin, we don't really need to Intimidate at all. Rillaboom, like, it helps a little bit to soothe the damage onto Kyogre, but, like, I just don't think it's ever worth bringing against a Kyogre. And then Glastrier just doesn't make as much sense to me. If my opponent didn't have Incineroar, I actually think Glastrier makes a lot of sense, but because of Incineroar alone, it's so easy for them to just, like, pivot it out and back in. Although I guess one thing I should think about is, like, what are the odds they actually bring in Incineroar, right? Because I have a Kyogre, right? So I actually don't know if it's super good for them to have it. Okay. They go with Indeedee and Kyogre. Their Kyogre's faster. I mean, Zapdos could Dynamax here. It's not a terrible option. Especially because of Assault Vest. Like, I think Airstream into Water Spout here is decently powerful. The reason I want a Water Spout here and not Thunder, by the way, is I just don't want to potentially activate a weakness policy on the Kyogre, right? I don't 100% know the item on it yet. And because we're Assault Vested, like, they're not going to KO us even with something like a Max Lightning unless they have a policy boost. I think there's a decent chance Indeedee protects here, so I could have maybe targeted the Kyogre instead. Actually, if I were to replay turn 1, I think Airstream into Kyogre and Water Spout's a little bit better here. They're going to Dynamax, okay. A lot of possible items for the Kyogre here, right? Like, Assault Vest has become increasingly common, which is really interesting. I think people realize you don't have to just use Kyogre as like a Choice Scarf, you know, user and run max special attack, max speed. It's actually really effective as a like bulky sweeper as well. Okay, so let's see. Do they protect Indeedee? Ooh, that may be a problem. There's a chance they just one-shot my Zapdos. I should have thought about that a little bit more. Like a base 150 Geyser, Rain, Helping Hand boosted. That's not good. I don't even know if that's Assault Vest. I think it is. Yeah, they go for Geyser. Nicely done. How do I get around that on turn 1? That does get a one-hit KO. Oh, well done, well done. It's not over by any means, especially because I've got Rillaboom with Glide, but you know, the upside is that our Kyogre's faster than their Kyogre right now, right? Okay. It's actually Urshifu coming out. Not what I would have expected. And it's Water Urshifu as well. Okay. Now I've got the speed boost on Kyogre. Do I outspeed Urshifu? I need to double check my speed stat on Kyogre here real quick. It doesn't have any speed investment from what I remember. 113. So we get 56. 169. So that's enough. I almost want to just Grassy Glide and Thunder the Kyogre because I'm pretty sure it's Assault Vested. I just don't know if that KOs. Oh, this is Instinct coming in, isn't it? Yep. I mean, how would I have gotten around that? I would have needed to protect Rillaboom. I don't even know if... Well, ooh, we're not Assault Vested, so Hailstorm may just KO us, right? Yeah, well done. Paralysis? Nope. But they do Max Lightning us. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that really doesn't do much damage to us. Thanks to Assault Vest. Okay, so still not terrible right now. The issue, though, is that they could fake out Max Lightning my Kyogre this next turn, right? Like, I feel pressure to switch out the Rillaboom thanks to the Intimidate. I think Protect and actually switching in Dusclops here is fine, because I think one angle I can go for now is setting up Trick Room and then sweeping with my Kyogre under Trick Room. Because I know I underspeed them, and I'm basically 100% sure they're Assault Vest on Kyogre at this point. Nice play this last turn by my opponent. Had I gone for just Water Spout there and made the prediction, we would have gotten the knockout onto Incineroar on the switch in. I should have just gone for that, because based off that damage output, I don't even know if we would have KO'd Kyogre even if the Intimidate didn't happen, honestly. So, like, what I'm thinking is, okay, yeah, maybe we could have just, like, Water Spout still does over 50% to Urshifu, right? It's just such a strong attack. And it would cover for the instant switch in super well. So, yep, it's AV and Chopple. Okay. So, same items as we have on this team. That's pretty interesting. Protect. Yep, there's Fake Out. Oh, interesting. They actually targeted Rillaboom. And they just Lightning Dusclops. Okay. It's a decent amount of damage, but it's not the end of the world. Dynamax Sends now. Rillaboom should be faster. Than Insane, actually. I don't know if it's faster than Kyogre. That's the problem. They can't change the terrain anymore, though. But I feel nervous switching out into Kyogre here. I don't think an Ice Beam KOs us, so I'm down to Grassy Glide and Trick Room here. Trick Room might be a slight mistake because of Incin. Oh, it's Blizzard? Okay, well, that shouldn't KO us, but they do manage to double connect, which is obviously not ideal. I do KO the Kyogre, though, which is obviously good. If they missed Blizzard there, I think we would have just won the game immediately. I'm going to Lariat into Dusclops. Okay, I don't think this KOs us. It's close, though. It was so close. Let me get Trick Room up. They can Aqua Jet us, though. I don't know if setting up Trick Room was the play. I could switch Rillaboom into Kyogre right now, but that's kind of risky because I can take a lot of damage, right? They could just close combat the Rillaboom right now, actually. Nightshade would break the Sash on Urshifu. I think I need to break Sash on it, so I'm going to Glide and Nightshade it. I feel like I didn't... Something went wrong in this endgame. Maybe need to just switch the Rillaboom out. They didn't Aqua Jet, so it's probably close combat. If Lariat doesn't KO Rillaboom here, we just knock out Urshifu. That would also work. Oh, we do get KO'd there. Uh-oh. Okay. And they went for Surging Strikes. Nicely done. I wonder if they doubled up onto the Rillaboom slot, because I think my obvious play there is to switch Rillaboom out. I mean, the thing is, I've broken Disguise... Not Disguise. Rain Stop, so that's perfect for us. It's going to be really close. Because I think Incin will outspeed us under Trick Room, but I don't think Darkest Lariat's a 2-hit KO. But with Aqua Jet, you could Darkest Lariat, Aqua Jet, Darkest Lariat. So this turn is a big deal, because the question for them is, do you click Close Combat right now? Like, I want a Thunder here, right? It's Thunder or Origin Pulse here. I think I'm going to go for Thunder. It's a potentially winning play. Okay, they didn't Aqua Jet, so if this isn't a 2-hit KO, we should win. Oh my... That's what I get for setting up Trick Room, though, right? I let my opponent attack first before me. I think it would have been a damage roll, potentially, on a double Lariat as to whether or not it would KO, but I think we would have survived. It's really close, honestly. I can't completely eyeball it here. Now we just lose for sure. It feels frustrating, too, because they didn't protect the Urshifu or Aqua Jetted, so Thunder was absolutely the right play there, because they would have just close combated me. I don't know. I think in this game, like, I could have switched out the Rillaboom to reconserve the terrain, but I felt really awkward switching in a low HP Kyogre. So then the other thing is, like, did I actually need to set up Trick Room? Because by setting up Trick Room, I may have messed myself up. But the thing is, I was like, I don't want Urshifu to outspeed me, right? And if I don't set up Trick Room, then Urshifu will outspeed me. So I think most likely their Darkest Lariat was, whether or not it was a 2-hit KO was probably going to be a damage roll. But I ended up making the right play on them since they didn't protect the Urshifu there. So... you know, that's the downside of setting up the Trick Room. I give my opponent the opportunity to potentially crit me. Now, this is bulky Kyogre. And I really think, yeah, we weren't, like, guaranteed the win there, even if they didn't crit, because I think there's a chance Darkest Lariat can just 2-hit KO, especially with some higher rolls. So I think there, it does kind of just come down to damage rolls. And, of course, if you crit either of the Darkest Lariats, then you would win the game there. So, yeah. That was a really fun one, though, and no shame in losing that. I think... we are obviously at a major disadvantage after their very, very strong turn 1 play. I think if there's one play I regret in this game, it was when the Urshifu switched into Incineroar. Like, that was fairly telegraphed and obvious. So, first of all, good on them for actually bringing the Incineroar. But I think in that position, because I already had the speed advantage and the speed boost on my Kyogre, it's fine to just click Water Spout in that position. I just got kind of greedy trying to like pick up a KO that was in front of me, but the Kyogre was so bulky that, like I said, I'm not even sure we would have KO'd even if they didn't get that Intimidate off, though. So it's like if I had just Water Spouted when they had switched the Urshifu out and gotten nailed like the Instant on the switch, and I think we just immediately win the game, because if you eliminate the Incineroar, then Rillaboom just wins the end game for us. So great example of how, yeah, maybe that crit in the end is a little bit unlucky, but like I certainly did not play perfectly in this one, and there were plenty of opportunities for me to just like really snowball, despite a relatively poor turn 1. And then of course you could just point to turn 1 as a turn to improve on as well. I definitely did not see the Helping Hand Geyser coming, and I wasn't sure that was gonna guarantee a knockout either. And then I guess the other thing to talk about was Blizzard, right? Because if they miss the Blizzard there on Rillaboom, I think we also have a very good shot at winning the game, and then I'd probably be more willing to switch out as well. But yeah, either way, that was a fun one, and no shame in losing. And yeah, definitely lots of areas where I could have improved in as well. So that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please share support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.